Well, number 3 is clearly the most important pick for the Philadelphia 76ers in next month's drafts, but they have a second pick in the draft as well, and it's very high in the second round, and it is a very important pick, not only in keeping it, but possibly for some other reasons as to way that the front office decides to approach that number 35th pick overall in June's draft. Welcome to the PHLY Sixers podcast here on a Wednesday alongside Derek Bodner, Kyle Neubeck. I'm Devon Givens. Bree is out with us today just because she was busy doing multiple shows earlier in the day. So the president of basketball operations chair is being filled right now by Tyler Zulli. So everybody in the chat, welcome Tyler back to the PHLY Sixers show. We appreciate him hanging out with us on this Wednesday. And the show that, as Igavini says at the very top in the chat, fellas, the show that Igavini has been waiting for to discuss the talent at the 35th overall pick. So to set everybody up, gang here in the chat already with us, we have 3 separate players to discuss that we're going to throw out. So 9 different players. We may add a few more at the end just because it's what we do. We talk about prospects, and there are a lot of them. So we're going to run through 9 different prospects. We'll get into those different prospects, what they could bring to the Sixers, of course, at pick 35, and get into all of that. Later on in the back end, we'll discuss the Eastern Conference Finals. That gets underway tonight after the Western Conference tipped off on Tuesday night. We'll get into all of that here on today's show. But let's get started with the 35th overall pick. Before we start to run the picks out, Kyle, just your thoughts in general. As we said right there at the top, 35th is important, man, because that back end of the first round, those talented players just kind of bleed into that back end of the first. So, I mean, in the second, and they're at 35. So it's still a good pick in general. So just to start it off, the importance of the 35th pick, as people who are saying, oh, it's just a second round pick. It's not just a second round pick.
No, listen, I mean, this has increasingly become a spot that is one of the more coveted areas of the draft, right? Because you're getting, in many cases, guys who have fringe first round grades, but you're not having to pay them the guaranteed contract that comes with being a first round pick. So you see a lot of examples in recent years where teams actually trade out of the back of the first to land somewhere from 31 through 36, 7 or so, and try to get one of these players for CBA type reasons. But if you're just looking at player value and what it means to the Sixers, if their stated goals are we got to get younger, we got to get more athletic, this is one of their primary tools to do that, right? Because it's hard to find young, athletic, upsidey guys who are going to be available on the open market without having either significant flaws or without them costing a lot of money. So this is a great opportunity for the Sixers to get a cost-controlled player, somebody who they might be able to have for at least a couple years, ideally longer than that if you can find a real gem here. And I would say this too. I think Derek talks about this a lot with pick 3 for sure in terms of fit versus best player and not worrying so much about fit. I care even less about fit in this part of the draft because I think once you get to the second round, you just want guys who are you think will be NBA players, right? You just need whoever is going to last in the league. That is the biggest priority here. So I don't particularly care if we make fun of the Kyle Neubeck test with the height stuff on the show. I don't particularly care about the measurables all that much. Like if the best player there is a small guard, scoring guard, put him on the team. I don't care. But I didn't go that way with my guys today. So we'll I leaned into the bit a little bit. So we'll see where everybody landed on their faves back here.
Yeah, I mean, I do think like if you get to the extremes where like this guy literally cannot play with like Tyrese Maxey, which one of them, when you talk about like a sub 6 foot guard, which one of them is, that like something to the very far extremes I care about fit, but otherwise like skill set fit, I don't care at all, man. If you, like Kyle said, if you're an NBA player and you're picked in the 30s, have at it. And like this is, it's to Devon's original point. It is real easy to be like, oh, well, it's just the 35th pick. What does it matter? Like watch tonight's game and watch how big of a role Nembhard played. Now, he was, I think, a little bit before 35, but he was right in that range. Max Christie was a literal 35th pick. there are NBA players to be had here in the early to mid 30s. It's tough, but it's not, I think the success rate is higher than a lot of people would assume. This is a chance. Once you get into the 40s, then it's a real crapshoot. Here is still this is like a late first round pick, and there's a chance to get talent.
And you mentioned Nembhard. Jalen Brunson was the 33rd overall pick in the 2018 draft. So if you scout right, you get it correct, and you're in a pretty good spot. Draymond Green was the 35th overall pick for the Golden State Warriors the year that he was selected by that team. So there are a lot of players. Tyler even had some names. Johnny Furphy last year for the Indiana Pacers, 35th overall pick. Max Christie, as you mentioned, Herb Jones, at the 35th overall pick for the New Orleans Pelicans. So you can get it right at pick number 35, and that's exactly why we're going to discuss some of these players here today. So in the chat, as always, folks, run some names for us in there in the chat. If we can get to them, certainly we will bring those up. If you like some of the ones that we bring up, of course, in the chat, let us know how you feel about the player that we like. Kyle, you want to do the honors and start things off with one of your players here on the list for one of your three?
Sure. So I will say this is not my favorite of the three, and my favorite of the three will come up in a segment later. But first guy on the list for me, Drake Powell out of North Carolina. He had, I think if anybody has heard his name come up recently in the chat or listening through audio only, whatever, it's because he had an outrageous combine. Had I believe, 37-inch no-step vertical, 43-inch max vert. He measured in at over 6'5", barefoot. He's got a 7-foot wingspan, so a huge wingspan for his height. So he's in the range of like 6'6.5", maybe creeping closer to 6'7". He's a bit of an older freshman. I believe he turns 20 in September, if I remember correctly. And I think this one is pretty simple. You draft him and say, this is a 3-and-D player with an emphasis on the defensive stuff. I think he's a guy with true switch versatility from 1 through 3. Certainly has the size, the foot speed, the athleticism to hang with basically anybody in that range. He was almost exclusively a spot-up guy at Carolina. And I think the big thing for him was that he was very, very good on the catch and shoot shots. I believe he hit 44% of his guarded catch and shoot attempts this year, according to Synergy, which is a big number. Shot, what was it? About 38% overall from 3. Now the volume is not especially high, and he did have a really bad free throw shooting year, but in high school and EYBL and things like that, I believe he was an 80+% free throw guy. So I feel good about the mechanics, feel good about him as a long-term shooter. I think the downside case for him is that he really doesn't do much of anything else on offense. He is a straight line driver and spot up player. He's not going to be a movement shooter, I don't think. I don't even know that he's going to be all that good of a relocation shooter. But if you're just saying, I can draft this kid, I can put him on the opponent's best player, and I can trust him to knock down an open spot up 3, that to me is the perfect sort of role player to get at 35. And with those athletic tools, I think he can be a good finisher, good cutter, off ball, playing off of more ball dominant players, the Maxis, the McCains, the Embiids. And his at rim numbers are good, albeit they're on low volume because he's not much of a self creator. But you're talking about a guy who's shooting in the mid 60s at the rim, which is pretty damn good for 6'5", 6'6" guy. So I just think he is a player who, while he did not have the type of season that maybe you wanted, considering I believe he was a top 15 recruit going to Carolina, I think at 35, you just say, I trust the track record. I trust what I've seen on defense. I trust that he'll shoot. And I think he can slot right into a role basically immediately.
Yeah. No, I mean, it really is intriguing from a physical tool standpoint. Like you mentioned, like basically 6'7", 7-foot wingspan. I think he's got a body that can fill out, plays with physicality and effort, especially defensively. A lot of multi-positional equity. The handle is not great. the shot is, like you mentioned, pretty low volume. You'd love to see him raise that a little bit. He's a play finisher. But I do think when you look at it, like I said, what do you have what it takes to stick in the league? And I think with his size, physicality, defense, I think he definitely has it. Just how much do you believe in that shot? I would have loved to have seen a much larger sample. You are correct in that looking at what I have here in the database I have access to, shot about 78% on 191 attempts through various high school free throw shooting tracking. So it's a pretty good indicator, but it is obviously a different animal when you start talking about making shots at an NBA level, and more specifically, not just the distance, but the speed of the closeouts. That throws some people. I have a little bit of question marks, but when you're talking about a 35th pick, I think that's a more than reasonable risk to take. Like, I think a lot of the people we'll talk about here, or at least some of them, have a pretty good chance of being gone by here. If Drake is available, I think that's a very reasonable gamble.
Yeah. I think the consensus mocks right now have him at 34. So this is like right in the expected range. Whether there's a team that looks at his combine stuff and says the physical tools are so good that will gamble on him a little higher, I don't know. But I think this is right in the range for him. I think another guy I'll talk about is going to probably be a trade up, or you have to get into the first round to get. But so yeah, like Drake Powell, a decent amount, and I think his concerns much less concerning in the second round than if he was like a top 20, top 25 guy.
Like the name. Also want to add this, though, not necessarily on any player, just more of what Daryl Morey has done. We've talked about Tyrese Maxey, Jared McCain, the undrafted players that he selected that have hit, even the ones that are no longer here. When you look at Isaiah Joe and Paul Reed, who had a pretty good run for the Pistons in the first round against the Knicks. He's done pretty well with his second round picks and also the undrafted guys. So while we don't have much to go off of for the number 3 pick for him, because this is uncharted territory for him, we do know that he's had that back end success at selecting players. So we'll see again if he can hit on this one, or maybe go in a different direction that we'll talk about in a little bit later. But Derek, who's your first guy?
Well, I think my first guy is probably one of the guys that we talked about yesterday, and I took him way higher than 35. I think I took him at like 15 or 18 or somewhere in that range. And Noah Penda, similar in that he's a 6'8", a little taller than Drake, but a 6'8" guy, played in France, Le Mans, with just real defensive upside and defensive versatility, defensive hustle, defensive playmaking. He can really force turnovers and get you out on the break and turn defense into offense. Who shows then, I think, some intriguing offensive skill sets, mostly with his vision and his playmaking. I think he understands the game pretty well. Now can the rest of his skills catch up to that? Mostly ball handling, shooting. I think he really needs to make strides in that area, not only from, a catch and shoot shot, shooting off the dribble. He's just very underdeveloped in that regard. But I think if he puts it together, he has a chance to really be a real good find. I do think that he has enough physical tools and enough defensive versatility. I don't expect him to be there at 35. This is a sort of, I included him because a lot of times with these 35th picks, they end up falling for reasons you don't anticipate heading into the draft. I do think he's a much higher rated prospect than you would typically have at this spot. But it just, he has just a real great base to build off. Like I said, that combination of physical profile, which isn't just size and length, but I think he's got a real strong build, ability to defend really a couple of positions at a pretty high level, and then hope that the offensive game catches around because he has so many ancillary skills.
Derek, do you have any idea on him if he's a immediately come over guy, or if he might stay over for another year overseas?
I would have to double check that. I'm not 100% sure what his buyout status is.
Yeah. So to your point about him being ranked higher, I do think, as we talk about, because I consider anybody from like 25 on in a lot of these, whether it's mocks or intel or whatever, are threats to go in the second round. Mm-hmm. I think if he is a potential stash guy for a year, or any of these guys are potential stash guys, that probably increases the likelihood that if they're available in that back half, that a team like, OKC, Boston, whoever would draft them because they're not worried about their salary for a year, and then they can still get a guy who they rank pretty highly. So I do think that this is probably the range of the draft in that 25 to 30 that you will see a bunch of those international guys go potentially.
I will say, comparing him to some of the other prospects, specifically Drake, I think I probably have a little bit less confidence in the jumper. You know, he seemed, I haven't watched every game, so maybe I just caught him on bad days, but he seemed hesitant to take a lot of even open catch and shoot shots. Like, I think there's some work that's going to have to go in, and hopefully that work eventually translates into confidence, which I know everyone that's listening to this as a Sixers fan probably just crossed him off of their list now. But I think there's a little bit more uncertainty with that shot. I don't think he shot the ball all that well from the free throw line. So I think he has some work to do there.
And again, you picked him somewhere in the mid-20s in the draft yesterday, in our mock draft yesterday, for our exercise. I think it was OKC. Yep, absolutely. OKC right around 25. So a nice pick there. And who knows?
I thought he went much higher than that. I thought Derek took him in the teens. I thought Derek was like going real hard for our
No, I think I did take him 15. I think it was 15th. Yeah.
Did it? I have to go back.
That was in large part. That was I probably have him rated somewhere around like 20 to 25 just as a pure prospect. I think I took him at 15 in part because he just seems like a Thunder type of player. I think his defensive versatility would fit in real well, especially if they can develop the jumper. But that jumper is really the only thing I think preventing him from being like a pretty long-term contributor and a rotation player. But I think it's a pretty significant question mark.
My mistake. It was 15 for Noah Penda. Yep, my bad. Miles Byrd.
That's why I remember yelping when Derek picked him there because I was hoping to take him at like 28 yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's two down there for our guys. I'll throw one here in the mix before we take a quick pause, and I'll go with a big man here. Just looking at this is more of just in the range of where he has seemed to be projected out, somewhere in this range at the back end of the first, early second, and Derek has him right now between he and Will on the Ultimate NBA Draft Guide, the All-City Draft Guide, number 40 right now on the All-City Network Draft Guides. And that's Ryan Kalkbrenner, the center from Creighton. Now, we're talking an older player at 23 years of age. He played 5 years at Creighton. First year, he played 30-plus games, just like he did for the rest, but he continued to just simply get better as a 7-1 guy. 13 points, 15, 17 in his senior year, 19, 8 boards, and 34% from three, which was a career best for him. He's also known, of course, for just simply protecting the rim. Now, you know how it is in college basketball where you can play that zone the way that you can plant yourself in the lane. So he would have to be able to be a little more mobile and moving around, but we're talking just simply protecting the rim, however you do it as a backup player. We like Adem Bona for what he did, but it doesn't mean that you cannot add another quote unquote young big man there, even though he is a tad bit older than some of these other players that we're talking about. The one thing that I would say about Kalkbrenner is, guys, I know we all like to talk about this. He has to shoot his free throws a little bit better. When you're big like that, you're going to get hacked. You got to make your free throws, and you have to do so at a higher clip. Last season, he shot 68% from the free throw line. So he gets there. He just doesn't make them. His best year was 22-23, where he averaged 79.5% from the foul line. And the other one, just from watching him for so many years, is that I want him to be a little bit tougher, if you will, out there on the floor, because he is 7'1". Impose your will a bit as a big guy like that can move laterally. Seems like his pro day and even the combine went pretty well, where it hasn't knocked him down per se in some of these other mock drafts, not just Derek's and Will's at All City Network, but just the fact that, again, he has seen a lot in college basketball, went to a really good program that has produced pros in the NBA. And I just look at him as one that's right around that range that I wouldn't necessarily be all that upset about, especially if we know that, let's say, the Drummond experience, they find some way to move on from him, even though he's going to opt into that 5 years. But all you're going to have, at least for right now.
Whoa. You mean 5 million, not 5
million.
years.
5 million.
5 years of Andre Drummond, buddy. Oh, my God.
My mistake.
Oh, no. What happened?
Yeah. But to just have someone else there. As another big body, another big man that can move a little bit. I'm not saying he's going to be like Mitchell Robinson, the way he has moved as a backup big man, or any of some of these other ones that we've seen in the NBA. Just, we know Embiid is going to miss some time. if Bona's going to get that, let's say, starting opportunity in some of these games, you're going to need a backup. You can go small ball and play some different guys at the center position. However, hey, yeah, I'm just handing out extensions, SB. My bad. Ryan Kalkbrenner, though, is a name that I looked at in that 35 range.
No, I mean, look, if he will prevent 5 years of Andre Drummond, I will sign
there
up
you
for
go.
drafting him.
Sign him up.
You might be able to talk me into him with the 3rd pick if he'll prevent 5 years of Andre Drummond.
All right, let's not get too crazy. We have enough people mad at you about the Ace Bailey stuff.
No, he's a real elite shot blocker. And not just because he's tall, although he is. Like, I think his timing on blocks is real good. And he does that without really getting into foul trouble almost ever, which is really impressive. And really tends to show you how well he's understanding the game. I do worry a little bit, like, can he move in space? Like, that's such an important part in today's NBA. I don't really think a lot of his offensive game is going to translate. Like, they ran a lot through him in the post. I'm not sure you're going to want to do that a ton in the NBA. But he's got 2 definite NBA skills in both protecting the rim and in rebounding. And as a 35th pick, yeah, that's reasonable.
Yeah, nothing wrong with taking a signature skill guy early in the second round. I think those, because this is not like he just developed the shot blocking. It was like a 5th-year senior outlier, right? He's been a 2.5 to 3 blocks a game guy for 4 years, basically. Yeah. That's as good as it gets.
Yep. And you see the value of some of these big men, man. Luke Cornett coming in, playing a big role for the Boston Celtics. Same thing for Mitchell Robinson. They're out there. So we like a Dembona. Doesn't mean you can't add another guy with the signature skill. When we come back, we'll get through the rest of our guys that we have here on our boards here for the 35th overall pick. Already 3 down, and we got 6 more to go from Derek, Kyle, and myself. We'll come back. We'll get to those players right here on the PHLY Sixers podcast. And I do have to tell you about Rothman Orthopedics. You see injuries going all around in professional sports in general, and you see these guys banged up. Or it just could be something as simple as you see it when you are walking on your route or something. You're taking walking the track or something that you're doing. Keeping yourself in shape, maybe going to the gym, and you see these people just come up with these little injuries that are bothering them. So whatever it may be, whatever kind of injury it may be, Rothman Orthopedic will definitely take care of you. That's where Rothman Orthopedics does, in fact, come in, whether it's pain from playing your favorite sport, an old injury, or just age catching up. Rothman's team of experts is here to help with evidence-based care and a mission to restore your mobility. They'll get you back on your feet and back to doing what you love. Don't let pain hold you back. Visit rothmanortho.com/PHLY to schedule your appointment today and get back to being your best self. If you need to find a location, it's pretty easy because Rothman proudly serves dozens of communities across Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Florida, with 30-plus convenient offices, urgent cares, and walk-in centers. So for more information, visit rothmanortho.com/landing/PHLY.
We also want to make sure we tell you about TrueMark Financial. If you're working from home, as we are today, it's time to stop calling plays from the couch. With a TrueMark Financial HELOC Select, you can tap into your home's equity and finally upgrade that home office, build out a better space, or just finish the projects you've been putting off. With a HELOC Select, you get a great low rate, flexible access, so you can pull your funds all at once or only when you need them, lower rates than most personal loans, and no penalties if you pay it off early. Visit TrueMark.com/PHLY to apply and turn your work from home game into a winning play. Terms and conditions apply. Visit TrueMark.com/HELOC for details. Federally insured by the NCUA, Equal Opportunity Lender, NMLS 404938. While we're on topic with TrueMark, we also want to tell you about an upcoming event that they have, because it's time to get ready to paddle up for a great cause. Join the TrueMark Financial Cares Foundation for a pickleball happy hour fundraiser happening Thursday, June 12th from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. at Dill Dinkers in Lansdale. Proceeds support financial education and community development in your local area, all while having some serious fun. Come early for registration at 3:30, followed by a fun-filled round-robin pickleball tournament, competitive or just for fun. If you're not a big deal about playing, no worries. Come enjoy Humpty's Dumplings, local tap beer, fun games like cornhole and ping pong, plus raffles, a 50-50 drawing, prizes, and more. For details or to register, visit TrueMark.com/PHLY. Don't miss the fun, pickleball, community, and a whole lot of deliciousness.
Welcome back to the PHLY Sixers podcast here on a Wednesday, where we have to tell you about something pretty cool that we're going to have here on our show. Just going forward, some different things that we have that these segments that we throw at you. And we're going to throw at you right now, folks, the big deal segment right here, presented by CherryHillDodge.com. Go to www.cherryhilldodge.com to go check them out. That's, again, the Cherry Hill triplex that they have over there in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. And I know people buy Jeeps elsewhere. I just don't know why. Drive home in your new Jeep today, just minutes from all the bridges, or available online 24/7 at jeepofcherryhill.com. And with it, we go and talk about something, that Kyle wanted to bring up here in this conversation, not just for the 35th overall pick, but Kyle, he might not make it to 35. He might not make it to 30.
That's why we're talking about the big deal, right? Because as we mentioned, some of these guys are probably more in that, let's say, 25 to 30 range at the back of the first round. And what you would give up, or how much you would consider trading into the first round or back into the first round if you could go and get a specific player. So one of those players, and my favorite guy of this group that I'm talking about today, is Yaxel Lendeborg from UAB. Tremendously productive player at UAB, albeit in a conference where competition level is just But you're talking about a 6'9" forward who averaged almost 18 points a game, over 11 rebounds a game, over 4 assists a game, shot 52% from the field, over 35% from three, almost 76% from the free throw line, almost 2 steals a game, and almost 2 blocks a game. It's like every stat that you can put up as a basketball player, he put it up, and he kept the turnovers down as well, right? He did everything for this team. And I think the most important thing for me, because the big concern for him is, how does it translate? What does he look like against better competition? He's an extremely high IQ player from all the ways that you can measure that and see that. He's a really good passer at his size. He can play make off the dribble, can play make out of the post. He is a really good rebounder. He's got great pursuit of the ball. And one of the things I like seeing in young front court players is, after they rebound the ball, how quickly are they getting the ball to somebody else? And he always has his head up. He gets an offensive rebound, and it's, where's the open shooter against a scrambling defense? That's a great sign for a guy's feel in the front court. You see the basketball IQ show up on the other end as well. I think the defensive end is where you probably have some questions about the translatable ability based on level of competition, because while I think he was a very good defender at UAB, there are some real concerns about, how does he defend in space? And when you're a 4 in the NBA, which I think he is, you're not just, it's not like you line up against the power forward and you go head to head with that guy. You have to be able to switch 1 through 4, defend smaller guards, defend 2s, 3s. And I have real questions about his foot speed out in space and his ability to hold up against those matchups. And then on top of that, does the shot translate? He was slightly below average across the 2 seasons at UAB. He's an older player, right? I believe he was a JUCO transfer, Derek, if I'm remembering correctly. So he's older. And the big question right now is, he's probably the number 1 transfer portal guy. He's committed to Michigan if he goes back to school. And I think if he's not getting drafted if he doesn't have good intel that he's going in the first round, I think he just goes back to school. So he might not be available. But there are so many ways for him to succeed, because he can attack off the bounce. He's got good touch. He's a good rebounder. He's a good passer. He just has so many ways to help a team. I find it hard to believe he would fail outright. And I think if a team was willing to trade out of the first round and he hung around until like 27, 28, and you're not given a ton to trade up from 35, I think he is just an absolute slam dunk to go up and get and add to your team. Because I just think players who are as productive and as smart as he is are just the best bets to succeed in this part of the draft.
Yeah, I think to your point, I think he has a pretty large NIL deal. So if he doesn't get a first round guarantee, I think he goes back. So I think you probably do have to trade up to really have a chance. No, I think there's a lot to like about him. I think he hit hit it on the nail in terms of his question marks. I think the shot, again, pretty low, very low volume, and pretty low percentages. Has been a good 3-point or a free throw shooter through his years in college. But still, especially at his age, like what is he at this point? 20, almost 23. I think he's turned 22 last fall. So you would like to see a little more confidence in that shot. But boy, he does just about, and the foot speed on the perimeter for sure. But boy, he does just about everything else. You really see the knowledge of the game and the good decision making and the high IQ and the high effort on both sides of the floor. His skill set in terms of being that big and that good of a rebounder, and also that good of a playmaker and a guy you can run offense through, is really unique. And I think is something that just like his overall IQ on both ends just really shows up every time you watch him. I think he's worth a late first round grade, even with the questions on the shot and the foot speed, just because the skill set is so unique. And I do think you'd probably have to trade up to get it. Well, you definitely would just go back if you didn't.
It's number 28 on the big board there at ALLCITY Network's draft guide. So check them out there. Once again, with Kyle going with Yaxel there. I know this once again was our new segment that we're going to bring to you here on the show, and it's a pretty cool one that we throw out there. The big deal. And a big deal. Maybe the Sixers do trade into the back end of the first round and take a player like him. We have to tell you one more time that I know people buy Jeeps elsewhere. I just don't know why. Drive home in your new Jeep today, just minutes from all bridges, or available online 24/7 at jeepofcherryhill.com. All right, cool. Derek, let's get to your second player on your list.
Yeah, I guess I'm sort of the foreign correspondent here on this one, because I'm going with Hugo Gonzalez, a big wing from Real Madrid. He just has, like, I feel like Kyle and I are locked in a lot because we focus on guys who we think can compete defensively, but he just has everything you could hope for in terms of his ability to really be a multi-positional defender, like 6'6", decent wingspan, and just a ton of athleticism. And not just like run jump athleticism, but side to side athleticism. But I think he really can grow into that. And, it's on the one hand, he was playing in a real tough league. And the ACB really is probably, if not the second toughest league in the world, certainly in top 3 or top 4. And it was tough for him to get minutes. And a lot of the minutes he did get were either garbage time or at least getting close to garbage time. So it makes the eval pretty tough. But just his compete level, his athleticism, his both, run jump athleticism and his lateral athleticism is really encouraging, especially if he falls to a second round pick. And the jump shot is okay. So it didn't go in a lot, which I know you'd love to see. You love it when the ball goes in the basket.
Don't worry, Derek. I have a questionable shooter as my third guy, so we can commiserate over that.
It just didn't go in. It's on a low sample, and I don't think the shot is fundamentally broken. So again, you'd love to see a little more ball hand, a little more creativity, a little more just ability to read and react offensively. But he, if his shot does eventually come, like we said before, if you give me a decent spot up shooter, maybe even a little movement, because I think he's comfortable doing that, and his defense translates, it's a worthwhile gamble at 35. I do question whether or not he's actually going to be there, but he's kind of all over the place on boards right now.
I do take offense to that. Like, I don't like switchable players and defensive guys just because I like players that can get buckets.
I didn't say that. I just said Kyle and I are very on the same page.
Kyle and I, or Derek and I, like, I'm on the same page. I just like buckets too. I like basketball.
Yeah. To Derek's point, I think it's just you lean slightly heavier than either of us toward the bucket guys, which is fine. It makes it so there's a good balance, right?
It is a good balance.
We can't offer
like defensive players,
the tools and competitiveness guys, right? That make for a very boring show.
Good player though.
Somebody has to lead the charge on Fears and Trey and everybody else.
And
right?
Ace.
I might be higher on Fears than Devon is at this point. I had him like in
honestly,
my top
that's
5.
probably true. You're right.
I like buckets
to
too.
Be fair. Devon was just ahead of the pack in terms of
yes,
the seeing the vision, and then Derek saw the vision and said, "Boy, I want to see more of that."
Just snatched the keys and went the other. Just left me behind with fears. Just left me. But, no.
Well, that's what we had. We had Tell of the Hungry in the chat. He was in our Discord today, and he had like Cedric Coward like top 5. I'm like, whoa! I thought I was driving the Cedric Coward bus.
Yeah, sorry, I can't get there, man. I like Cedric Coward, and I think he's going to go lotto when it's all said and done. But
yeah, top 5. Kyle, you had him 18 to Washington in our mock draft yesterday, so
that was a good one. That was a good
very high. All right, so you know what? I'm going buckets right here. Let's get to some buckets in the second round for my second pick. That's right. I like guys who can score, but I just happen to let this guy played 1 year in college, but he's been on the radar for a long time. For coming from Jersey City and playing, especially during this social media era where they give you these players when they're 13 and 14 and all that, and you see this guy at 6 foot just dunking on people, pulling the ball all the way back and just finishing and flushing it on people. And Derek did select him 30th overall for the Clippers in our Tuesday mock draft. And I'm going with Tahaad Pettiford from Auburn.
For sure he would be gone by 30 because I thought you were going to take him.
Yeah, no, not that early, but I'll take him at 35 if he's still there. No, he does not fit, to your guys' point, as always, when we talk about the size in the backcourt for the Sixers with Maxey and McCain at the heights that they are. 6'4", 6'5" for if Quentin Grimes comes back, and we'll see what they do at the top at number 3. I don't know that would change anything at all, depending on if they like Pettiford, if they took VJ Edgecombe and also selected Pettiford later on. I don't know that, but the fact that the guy can run a team, he can really score. He was a super 6-man for Auburn that went to, of course, the Final Four. And when they got there, Johnny Broome gets all the buzz. Some of his veteran teammates got all the buzz, but he came in and he was the one that was like, all right, let's turn this up a notch here. Let's turn that dial up a little bit because we need something to happen with this offense, where it was more of a slower, methodical type of offense in the half court with them. But when you get him and they get the rebound and you like to get out in the open floor, Pettiford not only shooting from beyond the 3-point line, but also being able to finish at the rim, even at that height. So I like him as a player. He is what, Derek, like 20, even though he was a freshman. I think he's 20. At this age, he is 41st on your board, and he's 19 points. Yeah, so he's going to be 20 when the season gets underway. So I just look at him, and even though it doesn't necessarily fit, again, the roster building, the construction, because of the 2 smaller guards that you already have, as you guys pointed out, when you get to 35, you throw all that stuff out the window. And depending on how your board goes, if the talent is there and you can see the talent fitting, and we talked a lot about, once again, no ball handlers, guys who can't get their own shots when things bog down, when players came off the bench. We like Jared Butler for those reasons. And this kid, where you have him on a cheaper contract for the second round, maybe guarantee him some money because of his talent. We talk about the importance of that pick early in the second. He's a guy that I like if he's still on the board at pick number 35.
Definitely in the Devon Givens Hooper camp.
Give him the ball, man. Give him the pill and let's rock.
He is a hooper. So I listen, there are obviously genuine concerns about the size and all that, but a very skilled player at that size. You know who you reminded me of, Devon, from back in the day, as you were talking about, these guys are known from the time they're 13 and 14 and the mixtapes. And this guy's even smaller than Pettiford. Remember Akil Carr?
Yeah,
who they called the Crime Stopper, because people would show up to his games. And he's from Baltimore, right? Or Baltimore area. And people were so locked in on his games in Baltimore that like the city would stop. And it's like, all right, nothing's happening while Akil Carr is playing. That's the first. Whenever someone says small guard and like a star at that age, I think of him every time. His school mixtape was outrageous. I used to watch that all the time.
Yeah.
No, and I think Pettiford would have put up a real good mixtape. Like his combination of like first step and then just pure leaping ability. Like he had like a 42-inch vert at the combine. Like he gets up.
Crazy.
He gets separation with his dribble. He's a good shooter, both off the catch and off the dribble. He has just, well, that's true. He's tiny. He's tiny. And I worry about that a lot. Like we're talking sub 6 foot, we're talking sub 170. I just don't know how well he is going to be able, there we can get into some stylistic things. I think he was forced to try to create a lot of offense there. But the defense is just, it's a huge concern of mine.
Yeah.
I would love him on like a Orlando type team.
Yeah.
Just everybody else defend and you just go get buckets, young man.
Absolutely. So he'll be a fun one to keep an eye on, of course, if the Sixers don't take him. But he's one on my list that my ears would perk up if they selected him on day 2, on that Thursday that we're doing our draft show, and he's the name called. There you go. Let's have at it. All right, Summer League, baby. All right, let's take a pause here. Our last one. We'll get to our final 3 players on our list for our players that we would keep an eye on, and we'll get to our super chats as well as we hang out with you.
More yelling at me. Let's
more
go.
Yelling at Derek, and maybe more yelling at me with my last name as well. We'll get to it all right here on the PHLY Sixers podcast.
All right, guys. Just like your favorite team needs a home court advantage, your home needs a home floor advantage. And Empire Today can help you get it. Empire Today has flooring experts, dedicated flooring professionals who focus on flooring every single day. We've all been to some of those big box floors, and they might have the flooring department, but the person helping you with flooring may have been doing sinks yesterday and could be stocking light bulbs tomorrow. Empire Today lives and breathes flooring, and they will be with you every step of the way. Your flooring experts bring the showroom right to your home. You can pick the right flooring and the right colors for your space so you can see how it looks with your furniture and in your house. You get precise measurements taken and have all of your questions answered so there are no surprises. With Empire Today, you get clear, upfront, and all-inclusive pricing. Plus, you can schedule installation as soon as the next day. Schedule a free in-home estimate today because some things are just better at home. PHLY listeners can receive a $350 discount when using promo code PHLY. Heard that right? A $350 discount with code PHLY. Restrictions apply. Visit empiretoday.com/PHLY for details.
And gang, you already know what it is. This is the big one, the Memorial Day sale at Ashley, South Jersey in Philadelphia. Save $100 off of every $1,000 that you spend, plus amazing savings on beautiful outdoor furniture, 60-month special financing, all your furniture delivered locally, free of charge, and with every qualifying purchase, get a free gift. I keep reminding you guys, the summer is coming up, right? Memorial Day, for many people, that's signaling, hey, I'm going down to the beach, I'm hosting people, I'm having fun. Get your outdoor furniture, get your new stuff to fill your house with. And, by the way, save on top brand mattresses where you also get free local delivery, setup, and removal. As someone who's had a mattress and a bed frame and all kinds of other things delivered to their house, that free delivery, setup, and removal is absolutely priceless. Get all of that at Ashley, South Jersey, and Philadelphia. Financing with approved credit, minimum purchase required. Some exclusions may apply. See store for details.
We welcome you back to the PHLY Sixers podcast. And Andrew tells us 87ers legend, Kyle Carr.
That's right. Carr. The Crime Stopper himself, Akil Carr, played for the 87ers.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Talented player.
Wish he was taller than 5'7". He might have had a chance, but he was, you know, talk about little guys. He was, that's as small as it gets trying to make it at this level, but amazing player to watch.
No doubt. No doubt. All right, let's get to Kyle. Let's get to your third and final choice here for the third overall pick. For the third overall pick.
So this is somebody that Derek, I believe, took on our live show yesterday in the mock. Miles Byrd out of San Diego State. The
24th overall to OKC yesterday.
There you go. The big picture pitch, versatile, athletic defender. He's about 6'6" in shoes, 6'10" wingspan. And the difference between him and Drake Powell, right? Like Drake Powell, also in that kind of versatile 1 through 3 defender bucket. Powell was not a steal and block guy. He was not a disruptor away from the play. He's more of a, you put him on an assignment, he's got a good chance to slow that guy down, and he'll make plays every so often. Miles Byrd, over 2 steals a game, over a block per game. He's, as far as steal rate and block rate, he's up there with like the Thybulls, the Gary Payton II of disruptive players in recent NCAA basketball history. Tremendously smart player away from the ball, competes hard on defense. He's got good free throw numbers, 80+% both of the last 2 years. So if you want to bet on him as a shooter, He's got that. He's got pretty fluid jump shot mechanics. I think he's gotten a lot better over the last 2 years at San Diego State, and he's in a poor offensive environment. So if you look at that and say, I think you get him in a better system with better players, and he's not taking as many guarded three-point shots, he's got a good chance to be a 3-and-D guy, and certainly at the very least a defensive contributor. The reason he's available potentially at pick 35, he just hasn't shot the ball well, right? Like he is a low 30s%, albeit on like they make up most of his shot attempts, right? So he only took as a sophomore, I think it was 3.6 total attempts from the field per game, and over 2 of those are threes. Last year, he took close to 6 threes a game out of a little over 10 attempts. So despite the fact that he has not shot the ball well, it hasn't stopped him from getting shots up. And to me, that's a good indicator that like he's not someone that you get him to the league and he's a developing shooter. Oh, he's just going to shy away from taking those shots if he misses the first 3. And that gives me confidence that over time he will develop into at least like an average shooter. I think asking him to be a high 30s, low 40s is too big of a climb from where he's at. I do think he's a good feel player. Like he's a good connective passer. He's got some stuff to his game in terms of reading the floor and finding teammates. I just don't know if the shot doesn't come, if you're ever going to see that really translate. So this is just all in on at 35. I want a guy who's going to turn teams over, get into passing lanes, defend 1 through 3, and be part of that aggressive defensive style they want to play. So pretty low confidence in the offensive stuff, but high confidence in defense, work ethic, character, all that stuff. At 35, that's my type of player.
Yeah. No, I mean, he's a defensive playmaker and a versatile defensive playmaker. And I think he really does an excellent job of forcing turnovers and using that to help ignite the break, which is good because the break might be the only place he's going to reliably score. His shot is a huge question. Doesn't really finish well at the rim. Doesn't have a whole lot of a pull-up game. He's got some real question marks on, I think, how he translates offensively at the NBA level, especially for a guy who is in his, I think one of those was a red shirt.
He had a red shirt year. Yeah. And yeah.
So it was a sophomore, but he's a pretty old sophomore. You'd like to see a little bit more of an offensive game, but we are talking about the 35th pick. And I think the defense is legit. Like, I think he is going to cause havoc defensively. I just have pretty big questions. Or I hope he'll cause havoc defensively. I have just pretty big questions defensively.
Ranked 29th on the big board.
Offensively. Why can I not speak today? Jeez.
Hey, listen, it's only our whole job on this show.
Yeah, ranked 29th on the All-City Network draft guide big board. So good name from out there. And they produce some pros, man. They produce some pros. So we'll see how that one goes. All right, Derek, let's hit yours. We'll get to our super chats here shortly. Let's get your pick.
All right, I went with Kam Jones, an upperclassman. I think it was a senior this year, out of Marquette. Just has, I think, real 3-level scoring ability. I think he's a good movement shooter. I think he gives you a little bit of that. I think he is capable with the ball in his hands. I worry a little bit whether or not he is going to be able to finish at the rim like he did in college. But really, it's the shooting. It's the both on-ball and off-ball shooting. I think he has pretty good mechanics. He actually had a down year shooting ball this year after shooting in the high 30s each of his first 3 years on really high volume. He struggled 31% this year. Added a bit of a playmaking element to his game that he hadn't really shown before. Again, I'm not entirely sure how much that translates to the next level. But I do think he's gotten a little bit more comfortable playmaking out of pick and rolls, which is good because I think he's going to pull a lot of defenders over top of the screen. So if he's able to make plays out of that, that's going to help. Pretty good size at that spot. I think he's about a 6'5" in shoes. Not the greatest wingspan, but in terms of being able to see over the defense and make plays as a ball handler, I think he has a chance to do that. I have some concerns defensively. He's not really great laterally. I think he's like 6'5" with like 6'6" wingspan, so he doesn't have elite physical tools or anything of that sort. But we're all talking about a second-round pick, and I just think the combination of being able to, play make a little bit out of pick and rolls and also being an off-ball shooting threat, even if some of the at-rim stuff doesn't translate, even if the defense is a question mark, I think he can be a real fit here this late in the draft.
I thought it was a name that was going to come up just because of the fact that The guy can, just like you said, score at every level. And it was a name that was in our chat for the last couple of shows that I saw. So I knew one of us was going to bring him up, and just one that we saw in the Big East. And the guy can play, man. He can just play basketball. So really good name to bring up there. Certainly in the mix. I think he was 42nd on your draft guide. I think he was 42nd. Right. Yes, 42nd, 23 years of age. But the guy can score basketball. Another small guard, but hey, we like scoring, right, Derek? We like guys that can fill it up and score the basketball. So sometimes. I know.
And listen, I think to Derek's point, you're not going to find a lot of 3-level scorers in this part of the draft, and in fact, you often don't find any 3-level scorers in this part of the draft. And the fact that he basically had one down 3-point shooting season does not shake my confidence that this guy is a pull-up shooting threat at the next level. So I think if teams, for whatever reason, psych themselves out of drafting him because he had, his final year was the bad shooting year, that'd be a silly way to treat it. So I think despite the drawbacks, plenty of logic behind taking him at 35.
And Kyle, speaking of scoring, you want to give the breaking news here on the scoring side of things here.
One prediction that I know I got right coming into the year. One of the very few. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, your NBA MVP.
That's a
we can all take a victory lap because Lord knows we don't have many of them with those predictions. So yeah.
Hey, listen, being all in on the Thunder ahead of the year, I feel very good about, obviously, because they look like they have the inside track on potentially winning the title. Long way to go yet, but
a runner-up a season ago, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just an incredible season for OKC, incredible season for Shai, and I know that the discourse around him after last night's game was just brutal about all the free throw stuff. It's like, bro, he drives on like every other play. Don't foul him. I am very much a part of what you would call free throw FC. So don't foul the guy if you don't want to put him on the free throw line.
Yes, I am all about changing the rules regarding fouls. I am never going to get on the players for exploiting the rules, and especially when it's someone like Kyle mentioned who puts so much pressure on the rim. And look, his fouls, I think, are pretty down this year, going off the top of my head. Like, I don't think he's been quite as bad in terms of foul baiting as he previously had, but if he was, I wouldn't give a darn. You're playing within a rule set, and you're playing with refs and how they call the game. Of course you wanted to get to the foul line. It's the NBA's job to, litigate that out of the game, not the player's job.
Yep.
Congratulations to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the first league MVP for him after becoming a runner-up a season ago. All right, my final one, fellas, as we talked about Kam Jones there for the last pick for Derek. I'm going with another scorer, right around 6'4", 6'5", senior, 23 years of age, Chaz Lanier for the Tennessee Volunteers, got to the Elite Eight, averaged 18 points a game. And, man, when they really got going there in the SEC tournament, and look, all season long, but when you focus on the college basketball game the most is during the tournament. And when they needed him to score, they would just run that screen where he would come around the screen on the left or right side, get to that mid-range, and just pull up on you and kill you in that mid-range right around 17. He also can extend behind the three-point line. If you watched him and you saw it, he shot it at a 40% clip this past season. So last season,
serious volume too, Devon.
Yes,
like we're talking about. He took over 8 a game at Tennessee, and his last year at North Florida, 7.5 a game, and he hit 44% of his threes. So
and
that
Kyle,
is big time volume.
And 23-24, he shot it at 44%. So he took a little bit of a dip because of the amount of threes that he shot. So I'm going mellow 3-point, another one. 6'4", 6'5" that can score the basketball. Chaz Lanier from the Tennessee Volunteers would be an interesting name. I think he would be probably most likely down the list a little bit unless he just really does a great job in the interviews and the workouts and all that will push him up the board. But that's a shooting guard wing that I could look at and say, all right, I see exactly what they're doing with this particular player.
Yeah. No, I mean, he's a great shot maker. I do have concerns both because he's pretty much a non-passer as a guard.
Yeah.
Which is tough. And defensively, like I think there's, as you would expect, otherwise if he could had that level of scoring ability and was a good defender, he wouldn't be a 35th pick. But I think there's some real concern there as well.
Yep. So those are our players, 3 each, our 9 players for 35th overall. We saw a lot of you agree with some, disagree with some of the others that we did name. And of course, we always appreciate the interaction during the chat. We had some honorable mention guys that we thought of that could be in the mix for sure. But these were the main 9 that we locked in and keyed in on for these picks. Kyle talked about trading into the first round and what that might take to get in there, especially for the one player, Yaxel, that he brought up. And there could maybe be some of those other names that we did not mention, but we just more so see them as first rounders where we didn't select them thinking that they would drop into the second round. So good discussion. As always, really appreciate it. Let's get to some of these super chats here that we do have. Starting off with Brian Pumper.
Here we go. The Ace Bailey propaganda hour. We couldn't get through a single show without having to talk about this guy. Christ.
And that's exactly what he called it. My daily Ace Bailey propaganda. Don't want to feel like I have to go to Wingstop to get some wings. Derek Bodner, definitely a drumstick kind of guy.
What's funny is my team building philosophy, I think, heavily favors wings. Like, I would love wings.
I agree.
And I said this yesterday. His size and positional size is the one thing keeping him in that 3-4 conversation for me. Doesn't mean I'm going to take a guy I don't believe in. But yes, I love wings. I would love if this was a draft loaded with wings I believed in. Unfortunately, it's not. And by the way, Brian, because he brought it up in the chat, the moment I brought up Kam Jones, he's like, oh my God, another guard. You really hate wings. Buddy, 2 of my 3 guys were big wings. Just because you weren't paying attention doesn't mean I don't value wings.
Listen, I submitted a guy who's 6'7" with a 7-foot wingspan, a 6'9" forward, and a 6'6" guy with a 6'10" wingspan. Like, those are wings and forwards. Those are the exact players we're talking about. Come on, man. Come on.
We really don't need to do this every. I mean, look, I'm happy to.
Get ready for it.
Ace Bailey all the time.
We got a month.
We don't need
a month, man. We got a whole month. So get ready.
He's just dropping a lot of money to say the same thing over and over and over again.
Pump also keeps with the Ace Bailey conversation. How do you not draft a dude named Arias? Unless Labalco is your GOAT, then I have serious questions.
I mean, look, Air Bailey is a legitimate awesome name. I'm not going to dispute that.
And we've got some Ace hardware sponsorships lined up for him if he joins in with us here on PHLY. So thanks, Pump. We appreciate it. Andrew also has a super chat, not round 2 related, but there's got to be a 3-team trade where the Sixers can get number 2, Spurs get Giannis, and the Bucks get 3rd, and Paul George, and maybe future picks, right?
I don't. The Bucks have no reason to want Paul George right now. The whole reason that they would trade Giannis, other than Giannis wanting out, is blowing it up, right? Like you're just saying we're tearing it down to the studs. In fact, I think they would probably try to move Dame while he's injured in that case if they're doing that as well. So I said before, I don't think it would be crazy if Ace goes at 2, whether it's because the Spurs say we don't want to do the Harper Fox Castle thing, or because there's a trade with Milwaukee that happens and the Bucks, who historically have been, I don't want to say over eager, but have always tried to load up on the big, long athlete type guys like Ace. It would not be completely shocking if the Sixers at 3 end up with Harper. I still think it's most likely flag Harper and then whatever the Sixers end up doing, but it's not impossible that Harper slides to 3.
Would be interesting. Hey, we did a show about it, so it would certainly be interesting. Quickly,
now, Pump,
Ty,
if they did get the second pick, are we allowed to draft a guard then? Is that on the table?
Ty, before we get to M, let's let everybody know that we got a quick overtime here. Make sure you switch over to allphly.com. If you're on the television side, go to allphly.com to finish things up. We thank you for joining us on the Fast Channel here, watching us talk about the 35th.
Effect. Ooh, dang.
And the effect. Let's get to M. Grant Nelson out of Bama, early second rounder. He probably had a better chance when he left. What was it? South Dakota?
North Dakota.
Bama? North Dakota,
I believe.
To go to Bama. He might have had a better shot.
North Dakota State,
then.
right?
North Dakota State.
Yeah.
Yeah, he might have had a better shot then just because his hype, the buzz was much, much better for him to come out as a second rounder. I don't know that he's an early second rounder, guys, but I think the buzz was there a little bit before he transferred to Alabama.
He's too tall. Don't want him.
6'9".
Only 164 and under.
Yeah.
I think the problem for him is we haven't really seen forward progress for him, right? Like no real shooting development. It is obviously he's playing at a better program in higher competition, but scoring goes down after he leaves North Dakota. Rebounding is down. Like a lot of bad indicators for him. I mean, I wouldn't think it's not crazy if you said undrafted target, two-way guy, like that type of guy. But I think 35 is way too high for him compared to some of these other guys.
That athleticism is crazy. So you bring a guy like that at 6'9", somewhere around there, 6'10", whatever he is. That's a decent name. We all know the name now. So we'll see what he does. Gene says, when is the draft? First round is June 25th, second round June 26th. He has a busy June, so be ready for the 25th and the 26th. That's when the NBA draft is. So
Wednesday, Thursday, right?
Wednesday, Thursday. Yeah,
very nice of them. Now we get the weekend off instead of Thursday, Friday, or it's a nice little setup.
Yeah,
I still think one day, Thursday like it used to be.
I
don't need
to. Yep. We know it's only for TV purposes and whatever. Wednesday, Thursday it is. So those are our super chats. Those are our 35 overall pick guys that we keep an eye on. We'll talk more down the line about some other names. We hope Eric Dixon lands in a pretty good spot from Villanova. Guys like that, of course, local guys. Rasheer Fleming, we talked about him. I'm sure we'll discuss him a little bit more as the draft process goes along, when more buzz is out there, workouts are happening. Pro Day just happened for Clutch Sports Group, which he is part of, with some other talented players out there. But his name is somewhere in that 20s, maybe even in the teens when it comes to Rasheer Fleming from St. Joe's and Camden for St. Joe's product, Rasheer Fleming. All right, guys, last night, game one. Minnesota looked early like they were going to be able to take control of that game. They were up about 8-9 points. They could have extended to 12, get into double figures, and then the run happens at the end of the second to push the lead down to 4. And with that, Oklahoma City comes out in the third quarter, and they just turn things around, and they win game one. Just initial thoughts on how that one went, Kyle, how it turned out?
It was the quintessential. Oh, Derek, you okay over there with the mic? That'd be a funny clip. It's a quintessential OKC game, right? Where Minnesota's runs were never able to turn into big runs. And then OKC just hits you with an absolute fucking haymaker and goes on a tear and breaks that game open. That's been their thing the whole year, right? Like they keep the game within a reasonable distance. They go through these offensive lulls where they can't hit shots, or Shea's cold and whatever it is. And then they turn you over 4 times, 5 times, 6 times in like 10 possessions, and they score on a bunch of these fast breaks. And it's such a double-edged sword because you'd stop them, and then they score, and then they get to play in half-court defense where, again, they're much more likely to turn you over. And Julius Randle had an amazing first half. But one thing that they spotlighted on the broadcast, when you play with your back to the basket against Oklahoma City, you are in big trouble if you don't make quick decisions. And there was a play last night where it's Randle close to above the break and Ant-Man on the other side, and he's dribbling with his back to the basket for like 2-3 seconds. And in my head, I was like, the alarm's going off. Get rid of the ball. And then I think might have been J-Dub, just ripped them clean and they go the other way.
Yeah.
Like they just leave you with so little margin for error that even when they have those long offensive lulls, they just hang around, and then they just throw a huge right hook, and it's like, what the hell happened? We're down by 15 points. Just an incredible defensive team.
No, I mean, when they get after it defensively, they are just an absolute joy to watch. And it's really tough because obviously that then gets them out in transition. But Minnesota got absolutely nothing on the break. Like legitimately, I don't think they had a single fast break point all night. So when they're sitting there and they're having to go every possession against that defense, and the Thunder on the other hand are able to get out in transition and get those easy buckets, or at least have a chance to attack against an unset defense or get mismatches in transition. It's a different ball game. And that second half was just absolutely absurd to watch. I think they are going to be a real tough matchup here for the Wolves. And yeah, like I said, when they turn that defense up, they're one of my favorite teams to watch.
They needed that cushion going into the halftime where they were already up, trying to push it to double digits. They needed that cushion because of what you guys are talking about ultimately happened. We've seen it so many times. And part of it, my apology for him was pinned to the wall because of what Julius Randle was doing last night. It's like, okay, all right, here we go. But I had to blame Anthony Edwards a little bit because while they were doing everything they were doing, he was struggling for Anthony Edwards in the first half. I thought he was trying to push too hard to do the Anthony Edwards thing to get going when you still had another 24 minutes to do that coming out of halftime. Continue to play for those final 2 minutes the way it was working, getting out in transition, may not score it, stop it, secondary break, get a bucket because, as you guys pointed out, Randall was doing what he was doing. I thought Edwards pressed a little bit too much, but trying to get his where they were already scoring a little bit. So when they're up 9 and he takes a 3 or even drives to the basket and he misses Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who did not shoot well, but it's a better shot, a wide open shot, you got to make that extra pass. And I didn't see him do that enough in that second where it was already working instead of trying to get his. We're going to halftime, make your adjustments, and figure out where you need to come out there and be better to help it keep that lead and try to steal a win in game number 1. I put some of that blame on him because of that. And I understand he gets frustrated. Lou Dorter's on him, and Lou Dorter's doing an amazing job. And the defense that you guys talked about with the other help from Wallace and the big guys from Williams and others that are doing their thing, I thought he allowed that one last night to become too much one-sided for him too. We've seen it work so many times, but last night you just needed to extend that lead going into halftime, and instead it went the other way to cut it down to 4. So I thought they had a really good chance of stealing that one last night. I put a lot of that at the feet of Anthony Edwards.
Yeah, and he had an ankle issue in the first half, so he was out of rhythm to some extent for the rest of the game. To your point, Devon, I think the big key for them the first 2 rounds was they were trapping Ant a lot, the Lakers and the Warriors, and he was making good decisions out of those traps. OKC is pretty comfortable just saying, we have guys who can guard you straight up, and we don't have to necessarily hard hedge or double or trap them. It's more of sending help and stunning and cutting off his driving lanes. And so he's got to make some probably more advanced passing reads in the series. But look, it's game 1. You see it on tape. You go back and you say, all right, I got to make this play. I got to make this read next time. Losing that series, not a huge deal, but OKC certainly looking like the favorite right now.
Yep, absolutely. And with that, the East gets underway tonight in New York, 8 o'clock start time in New York. The Eastern Conference Finals, the Pacers taking on the New York Knicks. And guys, how you feeling?
I'm feeling like if I ever see you quote tweet the New York Knicks propaganda again, I'm going to be very upset. Because I think it's
one
thing.
They show McHale in there.
Listen, when I see Devon Gibbons has quote tweeted a post from the New York Knicks account, it just doesn't. It's something doesn't sit right with my spirit. So while I support and understand the support of your family, right? Like that's if you want to post all the McHale propaganda in the world, not even propaganda, the McHale production, the highlights, all that. That's good money with me. I don't want to see that Knicks account pop up again, my friend. That was that hurt me inside a little bit.
I'm afraid it will.
My rooting interest, especially in these Eastern Conference playoffs, lies almost entirely of which fan base is it easier for me to ignore. And I don't even know a Pacers fan. I can't imagine running into a Pacers fan. If they win, it's absolutely no problem to me. But man, if the Knicks win, it is such a pain in the ass. Allowed to say that now. We're in overtime.
Block them out.
But,
only a few that you have to
Devon,
worry about.
This is how much I like
Oh,
it.
I don't think
Yes,
so.
myself, Jack.
I will put
right?
up with that. I will put up with that if it means that you are happy. So go Knicks. And that's the first
Thank
and only
you.
time in my life I will ever
All
say
right, I got to talk to Vince. We got to talk about the hosts of this show and the respective qualifications, man. I'm no way. I'm not riding. I'm not doing it.
You guys know me well enough to know that if he was not wearing that blue and orange right now,
I'm well aware.
I'm all Pacers. Go TJ McConnell. Go get it done. It's only because of that guy. That's my guy.
I'm not a violations guy, but violations left and right happen. Somebody call VG Kyle. And tell him to get in here.
Hey man, hey, it's not his fault. I went to your point of the response on Twitter, which I rarely do. Right, I had to explain to one of them that it's not his fault. It's not my fault that the Sixers decided to trade him.
Correct.
I root for him with whatever uniform that he is wearing. His success, his team's success is his success. So obviously, you're in the Final Four, man. You got a real opportunity. And in 21, we had a really good shot. Had a 2-0 lead, as a matter of fact, as the home court advantage team, the Phoenix Suns, and Milwaukee came back and won 4 in a row. Been there before, experienced that pain that he had to deal with. And you don't win every year. And we know that it's a tough thing to do. So for them to get there his first year, as much as I hate the New York Knicks, and I understand it all, the fan base as well. I have Knicks gear. As a matter of yesterday, I was with Jack yesterday. He got me a New Jersey when he was out there. So, it's just one of those things, man. It's a unique situation. I've never rooted for the Knicks, and I am now because my cousin is playing for the Knicks, and he's going for a championship. So yeah,
it was when you said we and talking about the Phoenix Suns, that was so much easier to digest than when you say we about the Knicks. It's just why of all the teams, all 30 teams, this was one of the 2 or 3 worst that he had to get traded.
I know, man. I don't know what to say. Go Knicks.
Fuck New York with Bill McHale. I don't know.
I don't even dislike New York. I just dislike their fan bases and the teams. The city's
and the
cool.
the stuff that they did to Windhorse was terrible, man.
Oh, that was trash.
That was trash. I may disagree with Windhorse on some things, but I'm not throwing things at him as he's walking back to his hotel just because he disagrees with how you believe the series is going to play out. So I don't like that stuff. I wish they didn't do those things.
He might throw a wing at me. He might stand outside of the PHLY offices and throw wings at me just because of my takes. Yeah.
Right. So, hey, man, I hope we move on to when I say we, I mean Mikal. And because he is, of course, a part of the Knicks, they have to go too. The rest of the teammates, they have to go. So hope we advance to the finals, man, and should be fun. Should be a fun series. Indiana's tough. They were there last year, so it's going to be tough, man.
I would simply say this. I do not begrudge Mikal because the Sixers made a stupid trade. That's the key here. You will never hear me say a pro Knicks thing on this podcast. So
and Boots says
happening.
Would I cheer for the Celtics if Mikal was there? Man, that was a possibility on draft night where we thought that there was a chance that he might go to the Celtics. So I had to think about that.
Go Western Conference. That's my stance.
I will bring a jersey in.
Man, whoever's got to get it done.
If they win the championship, I'll say they, Derek, so we don't have to say we again. But I will bring in the jersey for each of you to wear on the show. See if you wear it.
I will not be there. You can put that jersey over the chair, and I'll be home and protest.
If they win it all, I will wear it with you, Devon.
All right, I appreciate that, man. Yeah.
And again, first time in my life, I will have worn a Knicks jersey.
Just know
people anything.
That I won't flood the timeline. I won't do all that stuff because that's not me anyway. I won't do that. But if he's doing stuff, I will like a lot of things on Twitter if he's doing stuff just because. So there you go.
It's like I don't even know these people anymore. You work with these guys 5 days a week every day.
It was tough. I remember like when you played like Little League and you'd always play like we're the Yankees and you get like a Yankees hat. It took me like weeks to actually be able to put that thing on. That was so tough.
I was the Mets the one year in Little League, and it was like, It's like walking into a church and just like exploding into a ball of flames. That's how I felt putting on that
hat. So thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. Even if you're rooting for the Pacers, we'll see what happens, man. Should be a fun series, though. Should be a really good series. Last year in New York, OG Anunoby was hurt. Jalen Brunson then left early in that series. Tyrese Halliburton selected over Jalen Brunson for Team USA. There's a lot of storylines there, man. So it should be a good one. Should be a good one. All right.
Like one Knicks win away from Devon tweeting out like hashtag Big Nick energy and
I'm not doing that.
Being on those, what's the was it Side Talk? You're going to be on Side Talk.
Oh, Sidewalk Talk.
Like,
yeah, Sidewalk Talk. Yo, I do want to. Now, as you know, I might go up there for a couple of games, whatever. I want to see what that's about. I want to go out to that crowd thing that they have, like the Jurassic Park, the Deer District kind of thing that they have going on in New York. I want to see it. So if I go out there, I might stop out there and call you guys from out there.
I will not be picking up the phone.
All right, let's get
and not only will I not pick it up, I'll send you right the voicemail. That'll be the click.
Oh man! All right, let's get to the
if I hear a single bing bong out of you, you're out of here.
I'm not doing that. I'm not doing a bing bong. I'm not doing that. Let's get to the world famous roll call.
Thank you everybody for being here and hanging out with us today.
I wish I had my jersey in arm's reach right here.
Man, fun show. A lot of second round talk and. Be pumped. We will be back to our regularly scheduled debates about Ace Bailey and everyone else in the lottery soon enough. Thank you to my girl Winona, to Hedva, to Jess, to Money Moore, to Igavini, to Martian Lynch, Eugene Ross.
What's up, Gene?
Buddy? Sean Ford. Oh, wait. I shouted out Money Moore and he said, orange and blue skies is what Devon is going to say. Oh, my goodness.
That's it.
YOLO 856, Bootzilla,
Boots
0024, Provolone John, Elaine Bruno, Rick Morse.
What up, Ricky?
Big AD 97, SB Cole, X-Man. Who else we got in here? Mom's grandchildren. Hello, Mom.
Mother. And my niece,
Mary Overfield. I'm glad to see all the anti-Knicks sentiment in this chat because need to balance out you two right now. Jeez, you really think you know people, and then Brian Knight hanging out with us. Who else we got in here today? I think I said Mellow 3-point.
B Knight.
I'm saying it again. B Pump, the king of the super chat for Ace Bailey himself. Obviously, the number one Ace Bailey fan, all of PHLY. We don't begrudge you that. You and Devon are in lockstep on the Ace at 3 for the time being. You never know where we'll all end up.
Me and you, B-Pump.
We could all have Ace much lower at the end of the day. Who the heck knows? A lot of time left, over a month to go. Oh, boy. Who else were our super chatters today? I believe we had M as a super chatter. I think we had an Andrew as a super chatter, I want to say, if I'm incorrect on that. My apologies. Well, yeah, B Pump, the king of the super chat for Ace. We got Peter Jr. What's up to Peter?
What up, Pete?
You better love somebody.
Love somebody. Love somebody.
Thank you, everybody who was here today and always. We'll be back again tomorrow, 3 p.m., Monday through Friday. As always, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you get notifications each and every time we go live. And the thumbs up button today, you know, it's helping us out in the algorithm. But unlike normally, it ain't super producer Bree you're saying thank you to. Enough with the ringing.
That's not me, by the way. That's Devon with, I think, a real bell.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. The thumbs up button goes to Tyler.
So if I really wanted to piss you off.
I'm going to say it slow so we can all pick it up.
Tyler Zulli. Behind the boards.
Thank you, Ty.
PHLY Sixer show today. Thank you for filling in, Tyler, stepping into Bree's very big shoes. Again, we'll be back tomorrow, 3 p.m., hopefully after a big-time Knicks loss, unlike you two bozos are rooting for tonight. And we'll be talking about whatever, possibly the draft, possibly the Knicks. You never know what's going to happen. Until then, take care of yourselves. Be well. We'll see you tomorrow at 3. Goodbye.
We all silly like the mayor.